Hi everyone, it's Matt. Today I'm going to tell you my story of preeclampsia. If you don't know what preeclampsia is disease that occurs during pregnancy, but it can also happen during labor or even postpartum, up to 6 weeks postpartum. And it's where it's classified as high blood pressure. You can have protein in the urine, but that classification has actually changed. Um, there's also HELLP syndrome, which is wicked stepsister of preeclampsia. So it's when your liver is failing and your blood isn't clotting, and and I experienced this with my first, with Anthony. He's our first boy. I was actually 18 when I found out I was pregnant with him. So yeah, it was super scary just being pregnant in general. And Alex and I haven't weren't even together for a year yet. I was 11 weeks pregnant on the 1 year anniversary, so it's definitely a scary time. um, but as far as the pregnancy goes, in the beginning it was fine. I had normal, like everyday nausea, not throwing up, but just sick like throughout the day. Kind of wish I would have felt better. My mom went to my first appointment. Um, there's only one. There's no twins. Um, so yeah, I didn't really know much about pregnancy. Obviously, I was only 18. I was afraid of gestational diabetes because my family had a history of diabetes. So I was really super worried about having GD. I was like, oh no. It wasn't until about 22 weeks, actually a little earlier, I was having some pain in my upper right quadrant right here. Um, and I had my gallbladder removed about a year before, so I thought, why do I have pain there again? So I had an ultrasound to see if it was gallstones, which can happen during pregnancy. Could have been stuck in the duct. That came out negative. Um, then a couple, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks after my ultrasound, I really started having some symptoms. I was at school. We were sitting there between classes, and there's an art building that's 2 stories high. And I was looking at it, and I was like, it looked like there's glitter falling from the second story of this art building. I was like, hey, do you see the glitter falling? Like, he was like, no, like, he didn't see anything. I was just like, there's glitter coming from there. Nothing of it. I just thought it was weird, and I was like, maybe it's glitter. About a week later is when I started having the headaches. Um, yeah, these pounding, blinding headaches. You can't even explain how bad these headaches were. Any light would hurt. Um, like Tylenol wouldn't get rid of it. Nothing will get rid of it. Maybe some rest, but even still, it was so bad that I couldn't sleep. Um, this kind of started going on. It was 23 weeks, and it was still kind of going. And I remember going down to San Diego for our 19th birthday, celebrating with my family down there, and driving back up. It was nighttime, and I almost pulled over to have my sister drive because the lights of the cars behind me, the reflection, I could not see. And I got home. It was a Sunday night. And I got home, and I couldn't sleep. I was crying because these headaches were so bad. And at first, I thought they were normal headaches. It was like nausea, gaining weight, totally normal during pregnancy, but mine was not. And I did not understand that at that time, just being barely 19 years old. And I believe it was that night. It was either Sunday or Monday night. My mom, who's a nurse, decided this is weird. I'm gonna take your blood pressure. So she took my blood pressure, and it was sky high. I had no idea what that meant at that time. And so we called my doctor. They said go straight to labor and delivery. We went to labor and delivery. They didn't really tell us much of anything. They kind of just hooked me up to a monitor, the fetal monitor. I was getting my blood pressure taken about every 15 to 30 minutes. Um, and basically, like, okay, we're going to observe you. The doctor can't see you till this morning. So I was there at the hospital all night. And the next morning, my doctor goes, oh, you have high blood pressure. You're going to be on strict bed rest. So basically, quick bathroom trips, quick bite to eat, and that was about it. I had to get I had an appointment set up for the week after that, my follow-up appointment, and I had to do a 24-hour urine analysis. So they get a pee in a jug for 24 hours. So every pee I had to take, I had to collect it. That was fun. They didn't really tell me much about that. They didn't bring up the idea of preeclampsia, eclampsia, HELLP syndrome, or any of that at all. And it wasn't like, it was more of our Googling that kind of led towards that direction. And this was 2008, so Google was just kind of, internet was kind of weird still at that time. 2016. But yeah, so we got home, we had a bed set up for me, we had like this couch that pulled out, so that was kind of my bed, because our room wasn't ready yet. We were still in the process of painting it. So everyone kind of collaborated, my grandmother, my mom, my sisters kind of helped start setting up this bedroom, because from our searching, we knew it was a possibility that I could have an early baby. We just didn't realize how early it would have become. So I was in bed, and pretty much anytime I got out of bed, first thing, before I even got out, I took my blood pressure, I would go to the bathroom, come back, take my blood pressure. If I got up to do anything, and I would take it right before I got up, and right after I got up. And then Wednesday, so Monday, I came home from the hospital. Wednesday, I turned in my urine analysis. And Thursday, again, I started kind of feeling sick again. Pretty nauseous, the headaches, and I just wasn't feeling good. So again, I took my blood pressure, and I believe it was 177 over about 120. If you don't know what that means, pretty much means I could have had a stroke. It was extremely high. So again, off to labor and delivery I went. And that night is when they told me that I might. They didn't say I did have it. They said I might have preeclampsia, and if you do, we cannot treat you here because we're not equipped with a NICU or the staff for a high-risk patient like I had become. So they were going to be transferring me to Loma Linda in San Bernardino. So Loma Linda, all the way, like about 45 minutes away. Call an ambulance and everything to transfer me. So I actually drew up from nerves once the gurney was there to get me on the ambulance because I was so nervous. I had no idea what to expect. I was only, when I was finally transferred, I was 25 weeks exactly when I got to the new hospital. And when I got there, I felt so much better at this new hospital because you could just tell they're more educated. They knew what they were handling. They weren't just be like, oh no, we don't know what to do with you. We don't have your records. And so this hospital definitely treated me really, really well. And I get there, and that's when they told me, you have preeclampsia, you have severe preeclampsia, and you're going to be on hospital bed rest the duration of your pregnancy. At that time, like, because I'm just like, I'm 25 weeks, I can't have a baby now. Like, baby just can't be born this early. So I was just like, okay, let's make it to 30 weeks, and let's take it week by week, and see where that leads us from 30 weeks, and I'll make it to full term. So pretty much that whole day, they almost didn't feed me because they're just like, we might have to deliver you today. So they didn't want to feed me because we had to have a C-section or something, or, induced. It was really scary. I had no idea what was happening. My whole family was there. My grandma was there, who now passed away since then. She helped me shave my legs because I wasn't ready. I had my sister sleep in the bedroom with me. Alex, he was there, of course, and he didn't know what was going on since we were just barely knew each other at that time. And then at 25 weeks, one day, I had more doctors, more nurses, more blood work, and then later that night, they were telling me that I had tens and thousands of proteins spilling from my kidneys in my urine, so that means my kidneys weren't functioning. I was told later on, I didn't find this out till later, my family the doctors told my family that my pancreas was failing. So my kidneys were failing, my pancreas was failing, and then also my liver was, they were all not functioning properly. My liver enzyme started going up, which is not normal. So none of those stuff were working, and the next thing to go was my heart because my blood pressure again was so high. And also because of my blood pressure, Anthony had an interuterine growth restriction, which means that my blood pressure was so high it was cutting off oxygen to him, so he was not growing properly. And they said that Saturday at 25 weeks, one day they said if they go up any higher, we're going to deliver you tonight via C-section, classical C-section. If not, if they kind of stay steady, it's next morning. So at 25 weeks, I was going to be having a baby. Next morning, I was getting whisked away to my C-section. Alex was getting prepped for it. Yeah, it's really scary. We didn't know what to expect. I had my finals, which was scary because I didn't know if it was a needle or if it was a numbing thing or like what was going on. And then all of a sudden, like this little 7-month pregnant little nurse was there holding my hand. I was just like, wait, I was bending over on the table. Wait, is this a needle? And all of a sudden, jam! And I almost passed out. I had no idea what to expect. So that was not fun at all. And finally they cut me open and arms spread out, and they just hear this wail, this cry, so loud. You would not have expected it for a 25-week baby. I don't think any of the doctors and nurses expected that at all. But he had these lungs, and the nurse gave him the name Tiny but Mighty. He had APGAR scores of 8 to 9, between 8 and 9, which means they're pretty much full-term baby scores. So his color was good, his breathing was good, it was great. I was on magnesium sulfate while I was at the hospital, so to keep my body from having seizures or strokes. So I could not see him for 24 hours after he was born. He was 1 pound 6 ounces, 12.5 inches long. So he was super, super tiny. And the nurses took a little Polaroid of him, and I had him right next to my wall. And I remember actually in the hospital room, still kind of blinded, that I had all the blinds closed, and I had like dark, I had a washcloth over my face. I could have a picture of it somewhere. Because again, I was flinching, to say the least. I finally got to still see him. This is actually, I have a couple pictures. This is actually the first time I got to see him right here. I could not hold him because I could not take him out of the incubator as his skin was too fragile. You see that here? Super thin, super skinny. He was strong though. They actually had to sedate him because he kept kicking. Anytime they changed the diapers, they kept kicking the weights. So they're like, we can't have you burn so many calories, so they had to sedate him. And then after a few days, after my blood pressure was kind of controlled, I was released from the hospital, but he had to be stuck in the NICU. And he was going to be there for at least a few months. So we thought. We were going to be stayed at the Ronald McDonald house, Alex and I, which is right next to the hospital, so we could stay there and go visit him basically whenever. I was pumping. When I first started pumping, just these tiny little, like I wasn't anticipating, little colostrum, I'm just like, is this thing going to help him? And I'm just like, no, this is really critical. This is going to be the best thing for him. And so every 3 hours, I had an alarm clock. I was pumping every 3 hours, because I knew this was going to be the best for him. And I think it was day 2 or 3 that he started on, I think it was 1 cc. And then just to once a day, just to see how his body would react. So I think Thursday I was released. We stayed at the Ronald McDonald house on Friday, and then Saturday is we knew it was going to be like a roller coaster ride, so he's gonna have a good day and his bad days. So on Saturday that was kind of his bad days, considering he was only 6 days old. We get to the hospital, they're saying that he's kind of not feeling well. He had to get an echocardiogram of his heart because they thought he had an infection in his heart or like a hole in his heart. And if he did, they would have to like go in and stitch it up. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this little baby's gonna have heart surgery right now. And so while we we went out to dinner with some family, just while they had him rest and take all his tests and stuff. And so we were gone for about like an hour or so. And when we went to go see if we can go back and visit him, they said yes, come in right away. And when we got there, they were working on him. His heart rate kept falling down. They said that the echo was clean, the x-rays were clean, that he did have an infection somewhere that they could not find. His heart rate was going down really low, and the longest it was when we were there. The highest it went was when we got there. And you can see him, he was bleeding through his little mouth tube and all his tubes, he was pretty much bleeding out. So we had the choice of, like, if he survived this, he was off of oxygen for so long, he will most likely be brain dead the rest of his life. And if you saw his little body, you could just tell. So we called in the priest, who baptized him. All the nurses were crying and giving us hugs and support. They unhooked him from all the tubes, and that's when they gave him to us in the tube hole. So we got to hold him, and for about 10 minutes after he was unhooked, he was breathing on his own. And then we could just feel when his body, his spirit left his body. Doctors came in and pronounced it. It was around 7 o'clock at night. We had an hour laying me down to sleep. Some pictures of him. These weren't the pictures, these were from our own pictures that we had. I do have other pictures of him. Yeah, it was definitely one of the hardest things anyone can ever possibly do. And that's kind of why afterwards I found the Preeclampsia Foundation. And I'm a volunteer, and I participate in the Promise Walks for Preeclampsia, locally down in San Diego right now. And then my first one was actually that in May. So we were born in March, and May was the walk, and that was our first walk. And it's to help raise awareness of this disease, because people don't know about it. Doctors don't talk about it. They just tell you when they become pregnant, everyone thinks, oh, you're gonna have a full-term baby, and everything's gonna be hunky-dory, but you know what? There are complications, and I wish I would have known what preeclampsia was. I wish I would have known the symptoms. I wish I would have known what to look out for. That me feeling like I was not normal. Because there's definitely a not being normal pregnancy feeling and normal. There's a huge difference. And do not be afraid of going to the doctor or calling the doctor for labor and delivery. Who cares if you're one of those crazy pregnant ladies that thinks there's something wrong? If you feel something's off, don't be afraid to come in, because that could mean life or death, basically. I have had 2 kids ever since. I have Gabriella. She was born 14 months later, very unexpected to have gotten pregnant so soon. She was born happy and healthy at 37 weeks 4 days, because since of my C-section, I was supposed to have an amniocentesis at 36 weeks. And if her lungs were mature, she'd be born at 36 weeks. If they were not mature, I would have to wait a week. So they didn't want me going past 37 weeks. So her pregnancy was pretty normal. A couple scares. towards the end. I have multiple NSTs now, non-stress tests. I almost had to be admitted at 34 weeks due to my liver enzymes, but luckily they were okay. And then she was born scheduled at 37 weeks 4 days. 6.5 pounds and 19, I think so. And now she's almost 7. And then we have Selena, my little rock star right there. She's definitely a rough pregnancy from the beginning. I was extremely sick from the start, where I barely get out of bed sick. I made her. We had a Down syndrome scare with her. She's okay, no Down syndrome. And also, let's see. Oh, I had tachycardia, so my heart rate was really high, so I had to be on a beta blocker. During my pregnancies, I also have to be on baby aspirin as well, to help. There's some studies that say it could help prevent it, or at least slow it down where it can go farther in the pregnancy besides so I was on my prenatals, I was on beta blocker so far, and I was on I think I was taking and baby aspirin. I was on all those 4 things. So what else? Yeah, so that was basically that. With the tachycardia, I knew something was off because I would get out of breath, I would get like super lightheaded, and then I could just feel like my heart pumping, and I knew something was off. So the beta blocker definitely helped out. I had to go see my cardiologist for that. And then later on, I found I had, with the gestational diabetes, I had gestational diabetes. So my numbers were not being controlled by diet, so I did have to be on glyburide. So no shots, it's just a pill. But with that, my fasting numbers were in the morning were still up and down. So I had to go change my medication multiple times with her with that. And then I had lots of appointments with that one. And then finally, I was trying to have a VBAC after 2 C-sections, so vaginal birth after 2 cesareans. Obviously, with my case, it can be troublesome to find a doctor. Luckily, I had a doctor who said, okay, we can try it to go past 37 weeks. The studies show. But I was doing my research, and I fought him, and I won. There's always certain circumstances, like HELLP syndrome, preeclampsia, that I would have another C-section. Well, 40 weeks comes by, 40 weeks, 2 days after overdue, yay! Which is super exciting for me. Nobody wants to be overdue, but I do, because that means I caught full cancer, not a microphase. But then I was at my NSPs, and they're just like, oh, you have a little contraction there. I was like, oh, I didn't know, I did. And I've never had contractions. But her heart, there's a slight heart decel on there. So they sent me to the hospital to get monitored more. And they're like, while you're here, why don't you get your C-section blood test? I was like, well, I'm not going to get a C-section, but why not? Let's get the blood work done. Kind of good thing I did because my platelets were low, which can lead to HELLP syndrome. So I was just like, oh, they were 77, which is 77,000. The normal should be 150,000 or above. So mine were way below. So now, not only did I have to start delivering, they had to question whether or not to have a cesarean with a spinal or a cesarean with general anesthesia. So I would be not even awake for her birth. So that totally scared me, and but at the same time, like, I'm glad that with the whole awareness thing, that I kind of knew what to expect and anticipate. The low platelets did throw me off for a loop for a bit. They ended up going down to 55, so I did almost have to have a platelet transfusion. Because they were good. Luckily I didn't, but had I not been aware, and had I not known what to expect, I would not be here right now. I could have bled out quite easily. So yeah, when she's here now, she was 9.5 pounds. Big girl, I think 20 and a half inches. So she was definitely a big girl. Even if any of the newborn stuff. So going from my 1 pound 6 ounce baby to 6.5 pounds to 9.5 pounds. So don't be afraid to, if you would like to have another baby, go ahead and have another baby. Like, obviously, if your health is in good condition, you can always get tested for autoimmune disorders, lupus, MTHFR, um, rheumatoid arthritis is one. There's a lot of different things that could um, start your preeclampsia, or it could just be by chance. I was 19, and which is one of them is young teens. Teenagers is actually a risk factor. Hispanic is a risk factor. African American is a risk factor. So there's over 35 is a risk factor. So just this is the Preeclampsia Foundation website. You can get a lot more information from there. Join a private block near you to raise education. Put brochures in your office, little brochures that everybody reads while they wait. Put that there. Please, just know what preeclampsia is. It's not, oh, my friend had preeclampsia and she's hunky dory and like, baby's fine. Like, it's nothing, but it can be serious. It can be nuts. It can be like, it could be very simple. But it can be slippy the cracks and be life threatening. 500,000 babies die each year because of preeclampsia. 75,000 women, maternal deaths. So women still dying during childbirth. Why? 2016, why? We have to find out. We have to raise awareness. We have to raise research and education, and we must spread the word and find a cure, find the treatment that can work. Because right now, the treatment is delivering the baby, and but you can even have it postpartum, so that's not even a treatment. So I just wanted to share my story. I know it's kind of weird. I hope you can hear me. It's long, but yeah. You can join my team. It's at www.thomaswalks.org/tinybutmighty. My short stories there. Feel free to ask me any questions. I've had multiple tournaments in honor of Anthony for awareness. So I raised about like $7,000 to the Preeclampsia Foundation in the last 8 years. I would love to have another fundraiser for him. I love talking about Anthony. My little angel from heaven. I am married to Alex now, if you want to know. Yeah, it's my preeclampsia story, my preeclampsia survival and loss. And here's my tiny bear from Molly Bears. If you ever lost a baby, Molly Bears makes great. You want to see pictures of Hannah?